see, I think I'm recording this, right?
Yeah, it should be record. I was thinking it would. Is it record automatically to YouTube?
Um, yeah.
You do? And then if you're in a meeting, push that, and it will, a notification will go off and make a note as well as off. That's what I do during school.
All right, well, it's good to talk to everybody, and it's showtime.
You need to do something. You gotta make it a waste of your.
I don't have anything else.
All right, well, thank you guys, everybody, for coming out. I hope that everybody's making their way in. We started with the first section of our TV show tonight, our TV show, I should say, our online live streaming show, the DBA Talk. Nard Fields, and we're going to have a wonderful time talking about the world of design. All right. So before we go ahead and get started, I'm going to go ahead and put the link out there for people. So in case you guys are wondering, how do I get in? You guys are about to sign up right now. While I'm doing this, I just want to go ahead and say that we have Johnson in the house.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Design as far as when it comes to logos and we got some things I've researched on the internet, and also some of my personal tips that help me when it comes to doing logo design. And also, we have Kanisha Walker. She is a DBA designer extraordinaire. You guys are going to hear from her. We're going to interview her. We're going to ask her those hard questions, really hard questions. No, just kidding. We're not going to ask her the real hard questions. We're going to ask her what she loves. I think that's like design. Then we have a tutorial by John Clement. John Clement is a repeater in the DBA Design Challenge. So hats off to him. He has held it down for 3 weeks, and he's trying to go for week number 4. And that's what us join in already. So let me put a call out. And also, I want to let you guys know, if you are in DBA on Facebook, send me an email. The people that I have in the DBA circle, we can hang out and growing. There are people in there, and we communicate throughout the week. It's a very thing. We're about to get started here in a little bit, but before we do, a little housekeeping. During the interviews, the first 15 minutes of the interview, we're going to have everybody's mics muted. If you don't mute the mic, we're going to take care of it right then. And then we're going to have 5 to 10 minutes on the interview where we're going to unmute the mic. You guys can ask questions. In the next session, we're going to have John Clement. He's going to mute that. He is going to ask, he may ask some questions, but he's going to do a tutorial. And during that tutorial, mics, again, they may be muted, but he may have a time in which he may unmute people's mics so you guys can have some Q&A. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and welcome Kanisha.
Hey.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad that you are on the show. I know it was last minute, but you came through, you pulled through, you're an excellent artist. I follow you on DBA, obviously, and that's what I reached out to you. Like, we're working with you. And you do photography too, is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. Wow. So a real Photoshop user. I mean, that's the purpose of Photoshop. And I've seen people and heard people recently been talking about, clip art, secure images versus using your own photography. So let me ask you, what really made you, let me get into
I would say I used to work at Canon actually.
You used to work at V Canon?
Yes, I worked at Canon here in Virginia. I'm in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was actually a senior technician before I left the company. And I was actually not in the camera department, but I was in the printer department. So I handled all of their printers, scanners, multifunction machine scanners. The senior technician position I did networking, but I also dealt with their visualizers, projectors, and network cameras. I was able to control network cameras across the United States, and then troubleshoot and wide format printers and things of that sort. Had to help with color correction with customers, with photographers and things of that sort. So, I started out with there, and then initially the job had reached like $10 billion in sales one year, and they all gave every Canon employee a SD300 camera. So I was actually shooting on this little small camera about this big. And I was shooting, and I was using it to shoot at different church events at my church or what have you. And then from there, I graduated to a DSLR camera and started photographing more. So I kind of started shooting in church or what have you. And then I just kept going on, and I would even go over to the camera department, asking them questions about what it is, certain cameras do, or it was interesting. I loved it, and it just kept going. I don't know.
Awesome. So, when did you realize? Was it at that point that you realized that you wanted to be a photographer, like a professional photographer?
No, not at all. Actually, I just like to photograph, and it was more so for other people. Me personally, I didn't see a need for me to take pictures, but at the ministry I was at the time, there was nobody else there, and I enjoyed doing it, and it actually helped to bring out my personality and learn more about myself, taking pictures and my interaction with people. That it helped me to see, okay, I enjoy doing this. I like talking with people. That's kind of how it started.
Okay. So, I guess my next question is, when did graphic design, was that before or after?
It was actually before.
Oh.
I've actually been doing graphic design, I think since 2000 or 2001.
Okay, nice. And so before the camera came along, were you the type to, I guess, to use Google Images, or I don't even know Google was out back then like that, but like how did you handle, the photography and needing images?
I'm sorry.
I hope it's not incriminating.
No, because I had to think about it. I used to, and I actually still have it. I have this box of stock images that had like 800,000 graphic images. Those type of packages. And I'm like, I need this background for this or whatever. And Google wasn't really that. Google wasn't a big thing back then. I think it was Yahoo and XGeeves. Those were like the biggest ones back then. So the whole search for images online was I don't even think even around. So that's what I did. I had to look at stock images in boxes that I had to go to Office Max or Office Depot, and that type of thing. Or my biggest thing was looking at something and trying to duplicate it, and that actually helped to expand my ability to do design work. But most of the time, I was pulling from stock images from a box.
Yeah. Right. I can definitely relate to that. Definitely. And let me ask you, when did you realize that you wanted to be an artist?
I'm sorry, you said that again?
I was asking, when did you realize you wanted to be an artist? I don't know whether it was graphic or hand drawing. What was that? When was that moment?
I've actually been, I guess you could say technically, just an artist in general ever since I was a kid. I grew up in an environment where you were kind of creative in some regard. So what I did growing up is I used to draw cartoons a lot. My biggest thing was Looney Tune characters. I love them. I just love them. So I actually have a big, probably about like a 30 by 40 canvas that has at least 16 or 20 Looney Tune characters. So I was big on drawing in that regard. I used to get sketchbooks and things of that sort. Use acrylic paint. I had that in me. But I, as far as actually transitioning from that to digital, it was a clear break in between it. There was it wasn't a clear transition between the two. It was, oh, I'm doing graphics now on the computer. There was no taking a sketch or what have you and trying to figure it out to put it on like Illustrator or what have you. That's not my story.
Okay. So let me ask you, then, do you prefer hand drawing over doing graphic and photography, or do you still do that? You can ask.
I don't draw as much as I should. I would say for me, I'll go digital first. For me, the transition between the two isn't fully there, so I try not to. I need help. So Coley was on here. Coley, hey, no, you know what, John has the logo thing, and he can help us.
Right. So where do you get like your inspiration from? Like where do you pull to be able to create your work?
Initially, it is from the words people provide me. I create the imagery first in my head to give an idea. So it tells a story. I'm a visual person, so I have to translate what people say and internalize it and be able to figure out how it should be. Not saying that it's going to be like that 100%, but it is now my guidance on the direction of the design. But I will pull from elements that I've seen in the past. Not necessarily saying I have an album of inspiration, because technically I don't. I actually can recall things that I've seen before and either find it again or try to duplicate it in some regard on how I can fit it and merge it within what design I'm doing at that moment.
Yeah. So what is one of your favorite pieces that you've done? You have a favorite piece that stands out to you?
I would say, I think it was last year, I did a flyer for my client in Maryland. Her oldest daughter was graduating high school.
Okay.
And it's a purple one. Some of them probably know what it is, but the pictures that were provided were very creative, had a lot of personality in it, and I was trying a new style of graphic design. That of course, I'm being inspired by the DVA people on a daily basis that I've probably intertwined some of that of what I've seen into the design. I'm trying to go a little bit more clean with it and pulling from some other, I think like some of the nightclub stuff that I've done to create the design. But it's kind of purple and it just looks really nice. And in actuality, I believe that a lot of people liked it because I think when they posted it on their Facebook page, they had like over 300 likes on the photo.
Wow.
On the flyer. Like, wow.
100 likes on a flyer?
Yeah.
You don't even get that on like a beautiful drop dead gorgeous picture.
Yeah.
So that must be nice. And speaking of the DBA, how long have you been part of DBA?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Let's see. Probably 4 years. I think that's about right. Yeah, about 4 years.
So you're a veteran, I guess you could say.
I guess you could say.
A master, right?
I don't know about a master. I don't know about that, but I think it's very important to be active in whatever groups that you're in to engage to engage your audience. I mean, I'm the type that is really I'm a people person. I'll ask you to call me. That's why earlier, asked you, gave you my phone number just in case something happened, because I'm the type that will want to quickly get off of social media or off of the computer to communicate. I believe that when it comes to social media, it shouldn't just be social online. It's a network as well. So I'm building a network of people, and I'm doing it also outside of the internet. I think that's important. I think that's very important. So that's what I always do, even in other groups that I'm in. We have to engage more. And as far as being a master of it, I wouldn't say that I am, but engaging, yes, I am.
so that's very important. Yeah, because I admit, like, when I saw the number pop up, I was kind of like shocked, like, who does that? Like, it's usually, people are usually saying like, hey, just contact me via, email or, Facebook me, message me, or tweet me or whatever. But seeing that you that you do that, has that benefited you in a way that you can say that socially online it wouldn't have, like connections, jobs, or things that
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would say, and just shout out a couple of my people. I actually met Tony Black from the DVA group, and we connected when it came to coding. And between him and there's a couple others, Cedric Wooten and his wife, and then Fatima and Chris Coley and Josh Stingle. Jason Bassett, who was creative in the DBA group. Who else? All of these people I've actually met in person.
Wow.
I've met all of these people I met them all in person, and in relation to Tony, when he was in the group, we started to do website projects together, and I really this that we need to provide information to people. I believe what holds us back is we have to type it all out. Some people are very vocal and they can get something out as quick and as an impact as fast as they possibly can. And it holds us back. So I would talk on the phone with all of these people and say, oh, okay, well you need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, as a result, I told him, because there was a barrier between our communication, I said, hey, I'm going to have to come up there. I'm going to have to come up to New Jersey.
And how long of a trip was that?
Huh?
I said, how long of a trip was that?
6 hours.
Oh, wow. So 6 hours to do some coding for somebody in DBA?
Not just coding, but just business in general. I mean, with everyone that I've met with in some regard, I've connected, and it's business related, but it's now become a friendship. You start to develop things, you start to communicate more, you start to learn people. That, I believe, is true social media networking. And it helps to build your business even more. And I believe that if you learn the people that are around you, then you can pull on their strengths. Mm-hmm. And you become a better person because you know what people are able to do, what their strengths are. And you can then subcontract work out to people because you know them as a person. You don't know them just as this particular icon on your computer screen. I believe that That's so important because you may not be the best at logos. We'll use that. You may not be, but you have John, you have Christopher Coley, you have Josh. You have all these people that you can specifically go to and say, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And make it happen, and that you feel comfortable in talking with them. It's not just a fly-by-night conversation. They know you as a person, not just someone being online.
Yeah.
And one of the posts that I did even on my personal page is I am into building relationships. You learn people, you know what it is that they do, and you become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with the graphic design, I do graphic design, I do photography, I do web design, but there are times where I struggle, and I'm going to say, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z. I'm not good, I'm okay with, doing this, but how did you do this? And you get it done. You're more engaging. I don't know. I'm just, if any of y'all out there, I'm just saying, relationship building. You can have all the skill in the world. You can be a one-man or one-woman show of your business, but you're only going to grow as far as you. So you have to pull on more the people that are around you and pull their strengths. Don't drain their strengths. Pull on their strengths and become better at your design. I feel like even with the design stuff that I still need to improve. And I'm looking at what people post on DVA and I'm like, you know what, that's awesome. That's an awesome technique. Eventually I'm going to ask that person when I feel that I have the time to do it, to ask them on how did they do it and where do I get started. Be specific and strategic on your engagement with the people that you that are around you. Don't just ask people, oh, how do you do this? How do you do it? Be specific to get all of the information that you need out of them, and that is an impact on your business. And that's what I do on a constant basis in DVA. I don't post all the time my graphic work. I actually post more of my graphic work inside than my actual business Facebook page. And the reason why that is because there's only a certain type of clientele I would really want in my portfolio to even post. I may do other work. I'm just, since we're on logos, I do logos, but I don't want to just do logos. I wanted to be able to brand people even more beyond the logo. I'm building a relationship. I'm not just a factory of doing the graphic design. And that's so important. I believe that that's so important. And that is when your repeat business comes. So I don't know if I needed to say all that, but that's what I felt.
Well, no, that's really, really good, because I never really heard anyone in the design world, especially online, say that it's very important to be to take it beyond online and like meet a person face to face, and that's powerful. I mean, that's something that I'm going to take, and I hope that other people will take and add to their characteristic when it comes to posting online and trying to link up with people. I hear it already. Like Philly, people in Philly, they get down all the time. Here in Cincinnati, haven't done it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen real soon. I think it's about 5 of us here in the DVA group that lives here in Cincinnati. But yeah, you had kind of almost took that last question I was going to ask you and put it right now, which was any words of wisdom, and I think you touched on that a lot. But let me ask you this question: if you had one program to walk away with and to work with, what program would that be? Just one.
Okay, now, I got 2 businesses, so that means I actually technically have 2. Okay, so for graphic design, I would personally say, as far as where I'm at, it would be Photoshop.
Photoshop, okay.
Photoshop. For my photography, it would be Lightroom.
Now that's interesting, because I haven't gotten into Lightroom at all. I've seen it, I've watched a few tutorials here and there, but based off of what I've seen, I sometimes scratch my head and I'll say, all right, that's something that I feel I can do in Photoshop. Now, tell me why am I wrong? Because I know I'm wrong. I just want to know why am I wrong?
I'm sorry. Why are you wrong?
Yeah, because I feel like Lightroom. I don't know much about it, but I hear like photographers talk highly about it to the point where it's almost as if like they don't need Photoshop.
Well, okay, Andre, I see you. I see you. Just want to let you know. I'm going to answer the question, though.
Yeah.
Okay, just to answer it. Lightroom helps not only in the editing process, but the process of processing your photos. Okay? How you take the images from your camera and load them through the application. It allows you to have catalog your images. You can get to the point where the only images that you see are the ones that you want to process. That cuts down your time in half. I can attest to that. It's cut my time in half when it comes to comparing images that are very similar and seeing one that you like and don't like and just disregarding the other one. Okay. And, okay. You know what? I need to turn this chat off because Andre is saying I'm preaching and stuff. Okay, now I'm not seeing it anymore. So I'm good. So when I use Photoshop, it's only for major editing. If I am going to be retouching, okay? But if I'm not retouching, most of the time I don't have to go in there. So I can do all of my cropping. I can do all of, I can go in and adjust blemishes all within Lightroom. And what happens, Lightroom itself is non-destructive to your image like Photoshop is. As you can tell, Photoshop, you have to create layers or duplicates of what you had previous so you don't lose it. Yeah. Whereas with Lightroom, you can take an image and you can duplicate it as a virtual copy, or you can create another catalog, and it's non-destructive. You still have your original image. What's happening is they're putting all of the processing over top of it.
Right.
And if you wanted to, you can reset the image to its original state if you want.
Okay.
There's a lot more in Lightroom than just that. I mean, not just cropping. Let me see. What are some other things? You can set the metadata of all of your photos. So as you export out, and let's say you wanted to add it to Facebook, if somebody uploads it, you can already have your copyright information at the bottom. You know how sometimes when you put an image, it already has text in there for the caption?
Yeah.
Well, that's the information that's pulled from the metadata that you put within the image inside of Lightroom.
Okay.
So that's just another way that you can have that tag. You can control your watermarks in Lightroom, how they're placed depending upon the height, the width of the image, and you can process it all of that way. So that's why I say for for photography, it would be Lightroom. It makes it easy. Yeah, there's presets in there too, just like on Photoshop you have actions. Again, it's non-destructive to your original image.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're coming to a close here. We have 2 minutes, so I guess that leaves really like one question. We're going to go ahead and unmute the mic, so I guess who would like to ask her a question? Let's see. I'll use these mics real quick. Guys here too.
I have a question for Miss Walker.
All right.
Who's that?
It's Jason.
Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
I gave you good.
That's not the question though.
Oh, okay.
The question is, are we still going to be having our scheduled Thursday conference tomorrow?
Yes, the question is what time. See, this is one of those relationship building things I was talking about earlier. Jason and I, we have this. We talk every Thursday, And the thing about it doesn't necessarily have to be anything in particular. We keep in contact. So what time will it be, Jason? Around 2 o'clock?
Probably between 2 and 3.
2 or 3. I'm going to put that on my calendar right now.
Yeah, I just put it on mine.
Wait a minute, Kanishi.
Okay.
What happened to our building stuff? Like, what happened to our relationship stuff?
I'm sorry, say that again, sweetie.
I said, what happened to our relationship building stuff?
Well, I don't know. We need to work on that. Do I need to put you on the calendar too?
Right.
I haven't talked
I feel hurt.
To be honest, you know what, you have been on my mind. I haven't been able to call you, but girl, I'm gonna make sure I call you though.
All right. Okay. Well, it is 8:30. Kanisha, we thank you so much for opening up to us for this 25-minute interview, and it's been beautiful. It's been real. So thank you. Can't say
You're
enough.
welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And we hope that it will not be the last. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next section here in the DBA talk here. And I'm also going to go ahead and, for those who just got in, tell you guys again, we're going to do a tutorial. So the microphones are going to be muted. They're going to be controlled by our upcoming tutorialist. I think that's the word. I just made it up.
It worked.
By John Clement. He's going to control everything. So let's give it up for John Clement. He's going to give us a tutorial.
What's going on, everybody? I've got a really good tutorial for you guys. I'm going to be working in Illustrator. This is going to kind of be a down and dirty, so it may be some parts that may be a little quick, but I will definitely post a tutorial on DVA after everything is done. But what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a guilloche. And I'll show you guys exactly what a guilloche is. So if everybody can see my screen, we're going to create something very similar to this. And basically, it's kind of like a security seal. Sometimes you see them on checks, you see them on money. But what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to create something like this. Now, there are websites that will allow you to create these kind of spirograph type security seals automatically, and then you basically kind of save them as a JPEG. But then they also have some that, I know there's a version on the Mac that will cost you like $500 to create that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create one right now in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our palette here. I'm going to move this over. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with putting our guides on, or a grid. So we'll go to View, Show Grid, and that's going to help us start. And then we're going to go over to our ellipse tool and create our first oval. So we'll create an oval about this big. And we want that oval to have no fill, and we're going to make our stroke, we're going to put our stroke at 80%. And then we also want it to be just 0.25 on the stroke. So you've got it there. Now, what we need to do next is we need to duplicate this oval. So what we're going to do is, typically what I do is I grab the Alt key, and if you see when I hit the Alt key, you get the double arrows. You get a black arrow and a white arrow. That's telling you that you're getting ready to duplicate what you're clicking on. And I have the Alt key held down, and I'm going to click and drag it down. And that automatically creates a duplicate. Now, zooming out a little bit, I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. And then I'm going to grab both of those and align them up. Make sure they're even. Now, what's really cool is now I can take and go to my rotate tool. If I double click on it, it's going to bring up this pop-up menu to allow me to rotate it any amount I want to. I'm going to go at 2 degrees. And then I'm also going to copy that. So when I copy that, that's going to be the beginning of this oval that we saw on the outside. So when I hit copy, you can see it created a duplicate of it. at top and bottom because that's what's selected. Now to fill that up, which we're making this here on the outside, the only thing we have to do is you hit Control D as in dog or Command D, and you can either just tap it or you can hold it down until you close that circle up. So that's the beginning of our seal. We'll make it a little bit smaller so it fits within the area. And I'm going to turn my guides back off, or my grid back off. And while I have this selected, I'm going to go ahead and create my center point. So now from there, what we're going to do is, now that we have that, we're going to create the layer on top of that. So I'm going to go grab my oval tool again, or my ellipse. I'm going to start from the center, and if I hold down Alt and Shift, it creates my circle from the center, as opposed to me having to try to measure it or create it and then try to center it. So we're going to hold Alt and Shift, and we're going to click and drag out until we get to a good spot. And we're still using that 80% on our stroke, and we're going to keep it at 1/4 of an inch or 1/4 of a point. On this one, though, we're actually going to add a white foreground. Okay, everybody following so far? Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. So we're going to hit we have our scale tool here. If we double click on it, it's going to give us a pop-up menu. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a circle that's about 97% smaller. And you can see in the image itself, it's getting smaller and larger. So we're going to go 97%, and then we're going to copy that. So now we have a duplicate image. We're going to select both of those circles. And then, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but we're going to go and find the Pathfinder tool. This is probably one of the most essential tools in Illustrator. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to divide these circles because we're only going to use the outside of the circle. Now you could take this and you could make a stroke and have it at that width, but what we're going to do is we're basically going to cut out the middle of it so we still have basically a solid as opposed to having just a stroke. So with both of those selected, we're going to select divide. What that's going to do is that's going to put this into 2 parts. Now right now they're grouped together. So what we have to do is ungroup them. So I right click, I hit ungroup, that takes them apart, and then when I click on it and I hit delete, it gets rid of the inside circle, and I still have this piece here. And it's not a stroke, it's actually a solid object. Okay? So now that I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another circle inside. Again, we're holding our Shift and our Alt. We're dragging out to the edge, and we're going to create a white ellipse. And then we're going to repeat what we did initially with this one. We're going to create our oval, just a little bit smaller this time. We'll center it up. Remember, we hold our Alt key to get the duplicate. We drag it down, and you can hold the Shift key as well, and that'll keep it from moving left or right. It'll lock it into a straight line. That at the bottom, you select both of them. We're going to get rid of our fill. Then we're going to go back to our rotate, copy it, and then Command or Control D. That's going to make us another circle in the middle. Okay? All right, next step is we need to create this star. and you see it's a rounded star. So what we have to do is we go up here and we go down to our star tool. So we select the star tool, and then what we want to do is we just want to click. We don't want to, drag out a star because we don't want a 5-point star. What we want is we want a 36-point star. So we click. We want 36 points. We hit OK. Oops, let me go back. We want to bring this radius down. We'll make that radius 300. We'll make this radius 270. So that's going to give us our star. We'll fill it with white. We'll resize it. Okay, we'll center that up. Now that we have our star, what we need to do is we need to round those corners. So what we do is we go up to our effect, and then we go down to stylize, and we're going to go round corners. And that's going to give us a pop-up menu. We want those rounded corners to be 20 pixels. We can, of course, preview it, and that's going to show us what it looks like before we finish. I'll take it down just a little bit. And we hit OK. So now that gives us our rounded corners. Center that up a little bit more. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create another star within that. So we go back to our star tool. And this is a very detailed. So if you ever have that customer that wants something very detailed like this, it takes a while, but the finished product is going to be phenomenal. So we'll create another star. We'll keep it the same. We'll reduce the size of it. Make sure it's centered. And this one will keep same. Actually, let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and round those. So we'll go rounded corners. 15 is good. And we'll take our points up a little bit. So now we have this star, and then we have a larger star. Now what we want to do is we want to connect those two, because what we're creating is this here, this blend. So we want to go from small to large. So if I do this correctly, it should work. So what we're going to do is we're going to select both stars, and then we're going to click on the edge of the largest star. And I'm hoping this works correctly. All right. We'll click on the edge of this star. Click on the edge of this star. And then we're going to go to our blend tool as soon as I find it here. Blend tool. And we double click on it. And I really hope this makes me look good. Let's see. 5 steps. If this works. Oops. Here we go. Oh, come on. Click on the tip here. And that is not giving me my blend. There we go. So basically what I did was and then I drag down and it fills in between those. So that gives us this area here. So we're getting there. All right, so now from that step, what we're next going to do is we're going to create this border that goes around the edge here. And just to kind of speed this up, I'm just going to do a simple border. So we'll go back to our elliptical tool. We'll go here in the center. We're holding Shift and Alt. We're going to drag out to our edge. We're going to remove the fill, and we're just going to stroke. And then we're going to change the color of that stroke. To white. Okay, everybody following so far? All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to create this that's behind the V. Now this is a very underutilized tool in Illustrator. So again, we're going to create another circle, but this time we're going to fill it with a grayscale, and we're going to make it 80%. Now, this is probably one of my favorite tools in Illustrator, very underutilized. It's called the Scribble tool. So if you go up to Effect, you go down to Stylize, and you go Scribble. And I already have a preset in here. But basically what you're going to do is our angle is going to be 0. Our path overlap is also going to be 0, as well as our variation. We're going to keep all of those the same. And just to kind of show you the differences of what it does if it's not centered. So we'll keep that at 0. Our stroke width, like we said before, was 0.25. We can adjust the curviness depending on how bold we want that to go. I'm going to put it at 100%. Our spacing needs to be at 5 pixels. If you change your spacing, you can see it adjusts the curve, the space between the curves. So we'll keep that at 5. Our variation stays at 0. And then we hit OK, and that's what creates the area behind it. All right, we're at about 12 minutes left. Okay, so now let's grab our font. We'll enlarge it. It can be any letter you choose. I'm just going to use a V, and we're going to go everybody's favorite font, Times New Roman. We'll bold it. We'll bring it here and enlarge it. Actually, what I'm going to do, let me make this circle a little smaller. It's a little big. Bring our V here. And then we want our V to be outlined. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go up here to type, because that's what we're working with. We're going to go create outlines. Now, before I do that, one thing I always recommend is if you're working in type and you're going to outline it, what I always recommend is copy it and paste it somewhere else, because you never know if you have to go back to that. So I have a copy over here in case something goes wrong. I go here, I go type, and I create an outline of it. Center it up. And what I'll do is I'll change that to a stroke. but we'll fill it. And then what I'm going to do is a little trick a keyboard trick that you can do with Illustrator is if I wanted to just create a copy of this, I can go up here, I can go copy, and then I can go paste, and it'll create a copy of it. But what I want to do is I want to create basically a shadow, which is going to be this behind here. I want to create this shadow. So an easy way of doing that is going copy or Control C or Command C, and then paste front or paste is going to create a duplicate right behind it or right in front of it. So I'm going to go behind it, and then I'm going to go ahead, make everything black, and then with my arrow keys on my keyboard, I'm just going to nudge it to the right and a little bit down. And then I'm going to take my main one, I'm going to make my stroke white, and I'm going to increase it. Bump it over a little bit. Now what I want to do is, I don't want that thinness there between the white. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to copy it. But this time I'm going to paste it in the front because I don't want that stroke on my V, or as heavy of a stroke on my V. So I can take it, say, 4 points. So now I have a nice V with my stroke on it, and then I have a shadow on it. Now, with this one that I have a stroke on, which is the one I'm working with here, I'll bump it up a little bit. I'm going to click on the one behind it. If you go to your strokes, you'll notice here you have caps and corners. What these are going to do is affect how the edges of the stroke are. So if I want my corners to be rounded, you can see here as I zoom in, if I want them pointed, if I want them rounded, or if I want them angled, I can do that under my stroke palette. We're going to go ahead and leave it like it is. We'll zoom back out, bump this back down on top. Zoom back out. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of text around here. So now what we do is we go back to we were using the ellipse tool a lot. So what we're going to do again, we're going to use Shift and Alt. So we're creating from the center, and we're going to drag out. We don't need a fill, and we don't need a stroke. We only need that path because we're going to type on it. Your type tool, you have several options here. We're going to type on that path that we just created. So we select that, we click on the path, and you'll notice that I have an eye with where I'm going to be typing, and then I have a little curve. That lets me know I'm typing on a path. So when I select that path, I can now type on that path. So we'll just go, God we trust, select all of it, we'll open our palette, we'll make it all caps, and I've got a font in here. This font is called United States. So we have that here. Now if you notice, we have these little points here. We have a line here and a line here with a point in the middle of it. What that is doing is that's showing us where the end of our text is and where the beginning of our text. So if we click here, oops. Come on, grab. If I can get it to do what I need it to do. We're going to get it. There we go. So we select that tool, and what that can do is we can actually center up our text and move it. So we can have it anywhere we want. So I'm going to bump it over here. We're going to reduce our size a little bit. And then we can actually go here, we'll select all of it, we'll copy it. At the very end of it, we'll just create a bullet there. And then we'll just paste it around the circle. And then we can just move it to the back so that it's behind our text here. And that kind of gives you a good idea of where we're going. I'm not going to create the inside of that because that's going to take a little bit longer. But that kind of gives you an idea of creating this safety seal, also known as a guilloche. So, what questions do we have? I'm going to unmute everybody here. Let's see. All right. Any questions? I'm sorry?
I'm here. I was jotting down notes.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody have any questions?
No questions. Me.
Oops, I'm sorry, y'all.
Well, I hope this is a very helpful tutorial for you guys. It used a lot of the tools in Illustrator, from the copy tool to scribble tool, definitely the star tool, blending. So you have a little bit of everything going on in this particular tutorial. Again, like I said, I'll post this tutorial on DVA after everything's said and done, and you guys can kind of try it out for yourselves. But it's definitely going to help you if you're wanting to learn Illustrator, get into Illustrator a little bit more. It's definitely going to help you expand your skill set.
Thank you.
Right, well, awesome. So I'm going to turn it back over to Bernard, and I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Awesome job. Thank you very much, John, for that wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, John.
Yes, so we are going to go ahead into our next section, which is the designer's topic, which is a beautiful segue from what John was designing, which is gouache, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We're going to talk about logos. People were asking a lot about logo design techniques. That's what got the most votes. I can't remember how many votes it was, but it was quite a bit. It just blew everybody else out of the water. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit about logo design techniques. So I'm going to share with you guys, I did a little online research, and I try to make it as simple as possible. I'm going to share with you guys what I found, and then I'm going to tell you all about my own personal experience when it comes to designing logos, the do's and the don'ts. So I went online, and I'm going to share these links with you. I'm going to put them off to the side so you guys can follow along with me, or you can read at your own leisure. But the first one that I found was from the website Mashable, and it was this year they had posted up talking about 7 killer tips for logo design. And I'll just go ahead and hit like the top 7, just the titles, and just talk about each of them. The first one was about being unique and being clever, and that is definitely a key. You want to make sure that when you're designing a logo, that it is unique and clever in a way that no one else has ever seen it before. Try to outside the box. For example, when we have these DBA design challenges every week, and they are challenging, very challenging. I challenge you guys to sometimes to sit back and think and not necessarily do the first thing that comes to your mind, because you're in a room full of designers and they're probably thinking the exact same thing. So you have to be unique. You have to stand out, because if you are like everyone else, then you can easily be looked over. And not just for yourself as a designer, but for your client. You know, your clients are coming to you and they're wanting a logo. They want to be branded. They want to stand out. They want to be successful in their business. And they're really putting a lot of responsibility in your hands, like they're putting their baby in your care, and your job is to give that baby a face, and I'm talking about a darn sexy one. All right. Number 2 is to understand the brand, and in that, one thing that I had pulled out was really the research, taking the time to kind of research what the company is about, how long they kind of been around. What did they do before, especially like if they're a company that's been around and they're looking for a rebrand. That's kind of a head start, and but at the same time, it would almost want to put you in a box. So you got to ask that question: is like, how much creative space do you have to really push their brand to the next level? And then also when you're dealing with a startup company. I don't know if you guys ever dealt with startups, but for myself, I come across startups all the time. They're always, coming with really just an idea. When you start to dig in, you start to ask these questions, like, what colors you think about, stuff like that. And they're like, well, I don't know, and you have to kind of, coach them along. Which then, step number 3, another point we're talking about is color is key. And I'll just read like the little color palette. They have a thing where they have like the name of the color. I don't know if you guys are on that page or not, but it says like, red, it represents being energetic, sexy, and bold. Orange, creative, friendly, youthful. Yellow, sunny, inventive, optimism. Green represents growth. You see that all the time. When you see or hear recycle, you automatically know somewhere green is nearby. And then you have organic, instructional. Then you have blue. That's like your professional, your tranquil, trustworthy. These colors, and I'm not going to read all of them, but these colors really are really geared toward playing on your human emotion. Like it does something when you see red. Like you automatically think at times like blood, energy, emergency. If you see a combination of red, white, and blue, some people may think American. Other people may think lack of freedom because of the police behind them with the sirens and lights going off. Like, oh crap. So you can do a lot with color, especially when you're dealing with a logo design. Make sure you keep that in mind. Study color theory. Take the time to see what other people are doing, but at the same time, try to step outside the envelope and set your own trail, but make sure it's a nice, pretty one and it makes sense. All right. And then number 4 point they had is called what's in the name. And this is what I love. I love explaining this to clients. And I don't know how many other people do this, but I always say, you know what? You can get 2 logos for 1. And I use this for a selling point. I'm like, you may go to somebody else and you may just get 1 logo. But think of it this way. You can have a logo and it has the symbol, then you also have the word mark or the logo type, which is just the lettering. Some people can use these fonts that are already out there, and they rearrange them a certain type of way. They may, elongate certain parts of it, extend it. And you have some people who do typography style where they just hand draw it out, and then they pull it into, Illustrator and make it, vector and do whatever it is that they can do to make it the best. And then you have the symbol. The symbol can stand alone. It doesn't necessarily have to even have words, but the symbol can be as strong as a color. Like if you're thinking computers and you think of blue, it's like IBM. You know, if you're thinking of phones and you think of the color green, you may think Cricket, or you think cell phone, yellow, Sprint. You may think hot pink, T-Mobile. You know, and that can also symbolize the company. But when you can combine both of them, and I always use Nike. That's like my run-to. You know, then you have yourself something that's worth a lot, and it says a lot about the company. So think about that when you're asking your client or even your next design challenge. You know, like what's my approach? Am I going to use just lettering? Am I use words? Am I use a combination of both? Symbol. Number 5, they said here, you know, to keep it easy, to keep it flexible. I think that when designing a logo, at cases where people say, hey, I wanted somebody with, you know, I want an old lady, and I want her to wear a small hat, and I want a flower with a bee on it, and I want her to have mass wrinkles on her face. And it's like, that's not going to work. Because one key thing that I learned in college that they were saying was that you should design a logo to where when you shrink it down, that it can fit on a dime and still make sense. You should be able to hold it in your hand and look at that design and be like, oh, I know exactly what that is. Not have it up to your eye and you're trying to magnifying glass trying to figure out what in the heck is this. If you find yourself designing on that level, then you're doing it wrong, flat out. And if your customer is saying, but that's what I want, I recommend that you tell them, you know, that's maybe what you want, but let me show us better, and it's the reason why you should go this route, because your name is out there. You know, I'm not going to go into the whole thing of like, you know, business relationship between you and your client, but I say for myself, I had left maybe one client alone because they just did not want to comply with the rules of logo design. And I didn't want my name out there attached to, you know, that idea that he had. So I left it alone. And also dealing with, I guess you could say, rebranding. Make sure that, I guess, it's close. Like if you look, if people who are on that page, if you see the Adidas, there's a theme that's going across the Adidas, and that's their stripes. They always have the 3 stripes. They're working with that, and you know exactly when you see that and you think it's shoes, automatically that's going to be. Right. And then it says number 6, it says don't expect instant success. You know, and I can say for myself, I'm around 50-50. Sometimes the first idea that I come up with, I know that's the one, but I just don't stop right there. I always dig a little deeper, and I design, you know, more logos, and I push myself. And then and that keeps me from falling into the trap of feeling like, oh yeah, that first design, that's the best all the time, and it's not true. Because there's times in which I design something and I'm like, man, that's the bomb. I love that logo. And then I'll go back and I'll design some more, and it turns out even better. You know, so open mind when it comes to that. And then number 7, it says use online resources and tools. So they're talking basically about getting inspiration, collaborating with other people, like how we do in DBA. I can't tell you how many times I go on DBA throughout the day, every single day, and I'm just looking at people's work, and I'm like, oh, I like that. I wonder how they did this, or I can use that style, and I can, you know, practice to see if I can, you know, pick up on that. And I highly, highly recommend that. That's one thing that helped me out when I was in college, and that I appreciate in DBA now is the ability to be able to use, you know, my brothers and my sisters, you know what I'm saying, fam here, as a resource, you know, to ask the questions, how'd you do that? Or the common one that I see online in a group is like, what font is that? You know, like, what font is this? What font is that? Or, you know, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? That's a beautiful thing. So that's that. And there's another one that I have, and I'll just read off the top 7.
A couple of things I wanted to hit on before you go.
Yes, go right ahead. Yeah, sure.
A couple of things. One, when you talked about color, color is so important when you're developing your brand and developing your logo, because it it personifies who you are, what you're trying to get the viewer to feel. A great example of that is if any of you guys have ever been into a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Wendy's, a Taco Bell, any of those types of fast food restaurants, what is the one thing you notice about the decor, the atmosphere? You have bright colors, reds, purples, greens, yellows, oranges. You have bright colors because they don't want you to sit there. They really want you to get in and get out. So they want to create that atmosphere of energy. It's fast food. We want you in, we want you out. But if you go somewhere like Copper River, Bonefish Grill, places like that, you notice that they use earth tones, browns, greens, dark blues, low lighting, those types of things, because they want to stay for a while. The longer you stay, the more money you spend.
That's interesting. I just got out of color theory class, matter of fact, and our instructor told us that most of the major restaurants use red because red is a hunger stimulant.
True.
And far as blues, he gave us an example of like FedEx, Facebook. What else was it? Was a lot of combinations with blue, and he said blue was more of a calming color.
And it denotes trust.
Right. So when it came to the restaurant, he was basically told us like they use red to basically keep us there to spend money.
See, now it is an impulse color. It is an impulse color because they want you to spend money, but they want it quick transaction. They don't want you to think about it. They're like, okay, give me a number 7, in and out.
Right.
But like this other restaurants, like your sit down restaurant, it's always low lighting, neutral colors. You don't see any reds or bright blues or oranges, those types of colors, because they want you to, really feel at home. They want you to sit for a while, order more drinks, order an appetizer, order dessert, because they figure like the more comfortable you are and the more relaxed you are with the low lighting, and you'll stay longer.
And to piggyback off that energy part that John was saying, as far as like when you go into the grocery store and you're standing in line and you see something like the National or the Enquirer and all that, you're seeing that red. You're seeing the making that impulse buy and say, oh, okay, yeah, this is going to draw my attention, just straight to that red.
It's like a sense of emergency. It puts you on the edge. Say, oh my gosh, I got to do something, and that something is I got to grab it.
Yeah, because imagine if you went to a Copper River or a Bonefish Grill and all the walls were red. You feel uncomfortable. You'd be ready to go because you're like, I don't want to just sit here for 45 minutes and eat my food because I'm going to feel like I'm rushed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing you talked on about, one thing I want to let you guys know, if you guys inbox me, I actually have one of the things we use with clients who have trouble coming up with a name for their company. We actually have a naming worksheet. And it actually goes through and you basically pick out words that describe your company or describe yourself. And once you start out with like 30 words, you end up with 5, and then from there you're able to choose a name. And I think it's also in that book that I recommended by Elise Bennett. When it comes to a name and designing your logo, the reason, like you said, the Adidas logo, the Coca-Cola logo, the IBM logo, the reason those things are so familiar is because if they changed at all, they didn't tweak it much. That's why it's so iconic. That's why it's so easy to remember. You see 3 stripes, you know it's Adidas. You see the red swoop, you know it's Coca-Cola, or you see the red and blue, you know it's Pepsi. So if you're going to come up with a brand and you want your brand to be iconic, don't change it every year. Don't change it every 2 years. Stick with something, and if you do your research on it, figure out what's going to be appealing to your customer, what's going to show who you are, then you can stick with it and you'll have a brand for years and years and years. And then, like I said, you can make little tweaks to it. The Pepsi brand is tweaked, but it's still Pepsi. It's still that red and blue, red, white, and blue. So,
Jason, I put up a little thing off to the side. I recommend that everybody click on that when you get a chance. It's the My Car logo, got blog post, whatever, off there to the side. Click on that. That's interesting what she had shared with us.
Nice.
It kind of like covers all of that and has some really strong examples to back up that theory.
Very nice.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you very much, Jacinda. That's really, really nice.
Oh, nice.
That's what's up.
What about if what is the difference between logo and church seals? Aren't they like the same thing? It's just that aren't you like when you're doing church seals branding a church? So is it like the same thing or is it different?
It's the same thing. It's like it falls underneath the church, depending on what the church wants. I mean, like I dealt with a church before that I worked for, and they had their church logo, but then they had something coming up like a convention, and they just wanted to have a church seal.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, so that was not the main logo. It was just for that special occasion that they were using it for.
Yeah. I wanted to mention something about church seals. I'm not a big fan of them. A lot of churches use them because it goes back to what you were saying, Bernard, about it being scalable. You can put it on the head of a dime, and is it going to look as good as it would on a billboard?
Right.
But most cases, the answer is no, because you're not going to be able to see the detail. You're not going to be able to see what's in the shield, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I tend to shy away from doing seals. I know churches love them, but me personally, I try to stick away from it. It's unless I'm doing a vector, simplified shield or seal. I try to stay away from those because they want a bunch of colors and they want it to look three-dimensional and they want the swords crossing through it and they want it to look, metallic and realistic.
Well, if I can, I'll take and share with you a shield that I did for a church, and that very thing you were talking about, like simplifying it. I did the exact same thing, and they loved it. It actually worked, but it was all about really making the outside of the shield unique enough to where when you saw that silhouette, you knew exactly what it was referring to, and especially with the colors. So it was like the silhouette and the colors was what I was honing in for. So as soon as I find that, I'll share it with you guys, screen share it.
When you're doing whether it be logos, seals, or whatever, how do you size it? I'm sorry if I'm getting off subject, but how do you size it so it everything looks well proportioned? Like there's not one thing bigger than the next, because that's what I'm having trouble with.
When you say one thing's not bigger than the next, are you talking specifically about seals or?
Well, either one, either seals or logos or whatever the case, because, okay, like for example, with seals, when I'm putting the lion in there, sometimes my stuff looks too big. Like if I use a shape tool, like it looks too big, and then my stuff looks just awkward. So do they have something either in Photoshop or Illustrator where it sizes it correctly, well proportioned?
It's all about your eye.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you have to scale it to where you feel it's like it's going to be proportioned.
Right.
Okay, I found it. I'm going to screen share this with you guys real quick, and then mosey on along. Okay. Screen share my entire. All right. So this is what I came up with. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right, cool. Their logo, I did an update version of their logo, which I'm not going to show that, but I'm just really just focusing on like how he was saying like you need to show the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all these different layers, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, if I was to shrink this down, like, it wouldn't look great, especially with all this color blending that I have going on.
Right.
And it's bad for T-shirt. It's just bad. It's just only great for some printing and screen.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did the same thing with this. It's the same colors, but it's just flat.
Right.
Something that they can actually work with.
Exactly.
And it's only, what, 4 colors there. I mean, I have a darker purple to symbolize the shadow that is in the back to give it some dimension. But outside of that, that's it. And I also, when I design, I create a color palette. So like my base color, let me see, I'll show you. My base color is right here. And then I have my shading and I have my highlights right there, then I have my shading right here. And that's what allows me to be able to do complex shading that looks complex, like I'm using so many colors, but I'm not. I'm only using like 3. I'm using my base color, and I'm using my shadow, and I'm using my highlights. And when you lay it over on top of each other certain type of ways, then you wind up with this. But then, to make it even simpler, is what I did when it came to the actual logo itself. So simplifying a logo, making sure that you can really like strip it down, makes it strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted to share with you guys, my own personal piece.
So when it comes to branding, and I guess this is for anybody, but in your opinion, is there a recommendation when it comes to software? Is there a recommendation when it comes to using clip art? What's kind of your general rule of thumb when you're designing?
When I'm designing a brand, a logo, well, I should say logo. Brand is something different. But when I'm designing a logo, I always tell myself, I start out with, sketches, pencil, pen, pad, like that's like rule number 1 for me is sketch it out. Like don't just jump in to your software and just be like, I got it, because I don't know, for me it's something different when, when the pencil or the head of my, writing device touches that paper. It's like, it's a different feel. And it allows me to be able to move quick and not to worry about, pen strokes and layers and stuff. No, I'm just moving like at my pace. And then automatically Illustrator. Like if you're not designing the logos in Illustrator, then you're doing it wrong because you're not going to be able to scale it.
Exactly.
At all. I mean, like you shot yourself in the foot because your file size is going to be ridiculously big. One of the pluses of designing Illustrator is that you can save it as a PDF. And it'll still save the layers, and if the file is, is kept at a reasonable size, and really like those 2 main things is what really keeps me away from designing in Photoshop. Now I admit, when I first started doing logo designs, I was in Photoshop.
Right.
So, until I saw somebody really kick some butt with a logo in Illustrator, and I was like, dang, if I can get to that level, I'll be all right. And that's what I started doing. I started practicing, and now I almost design everything in Illustrator except for when I need to do like an actual photo, manipulation. Then I open up Photoshop. But another key thing too is that when you're designing in Illustrator, a plus is that after you're done, you can bring it in as a smart object in Photoshop, and you can resize all day and all night. And if you want to take your logo to the next level by adding a stroke or a bevel to it, no, don't do that. Don't do no bevel. That's like a cardinal sin, man. Like, I'm designing
Why can't you do a bevel? Bevels make stuff look nice.
No,
and
no.
stuff.
Not on the logo. No.
And then can't you transfer your work from Photoshop to Illustrator?
No.
No.
Please don't put
Can't
any
you
bevels
transfer
on
your
the
work from
logo.
Photoshop? Okay.
Do not do any bevels.
I am
No. No.
Lord.
Mm-mm. Okay, I'm going back.
Okay, now, Bernard, you touched on something. I want you to kind of elaborate on it. I kind of, but you touched on what is the difference between a brand and a logo?
To me, when I think logo, I think of just one particular solid core image. It can either be the symbol by itself, it can be the word type, or a combination of the two to make the third. Now, when I think of branding, I'm thinking of it deeper, like how are you going to apply that logo to beyond the color, beyond it being on a piece of paper. Like, does that logo work well on a shirt? Like, I'm branding myself, I'm getting myself out there to the public via the logo. That's the way I look at it. So branding to me is very marketing strategies, like that step right before you go into all that heavy marketing.
Yes.
Like, for example, your website should look similar. It should marry your logo. Like, you're not going to have a church logo on a website that look like heavy metal. You know what I'm saying? Like the background and stuff. Like that's part of a brand. Like, that heavy metal brand of it being like, blood or what. I'm just going far extreme, but like blood and bit off head goats and stuff. And you got this crisp, clean, church logo, like, come love Jesus with us. And it's like, what are you doing? That doesn't work.
Right. For me, I look at a logo, like you said, is it's that symbol, that brand icon, that graphic design that you come up with on a computer, and that's what's going to represent your company. For me, a brand is when someone sees that logo, how does it make them feel? Like, it basically, experiences all of the knowledge that they have about the company. I mean, it's just like when I see, I'm gonna give you an example. So when I see, McDonald's logo, it makes me feel a certain type of way. It makes me feel like, oh, okay, either I'm hungry or I'm feeling good about it. The whole, that whole thing. If I see a Red Cross logo, I'm gonna feel a different way. So, it goes back to like we said, the name, the colors. But for me, a brand is that feeling that you get about a company, about an organization, about a service, about a product, and it deals more with for me, the intangibles.
Okay.
How do I feel? What's my gut? This logo. What does it make me feel? What does it emit in me that's going to make me react to seeing it?
Right.
If I see a Starbucks logo, I'm like, you know what? I think I might want an iced tea or a coffee or something like that. So for me, a brand is I agree that it's definitely your T-shirts. For me, a brand is everything about your company, from how your employees dress to how your menu board may look in a restaurant, to how your building looks and the decor, to your logo, to your website, to your stationery and your business card. All of that for me is the branding side of it, because all of that is going to create an experience for the end user, and once you create that experience, that's the brand. That's how like if you think about when farmers want to know which cattle belongs to them, they brand it.
Right.
So it's not so much of what they're creating. It's okay, I'm putting a stamp on it. This is my stamp, and this is what's gonna draw people in and make people feel a certain type of way, either panicked or warm and fuzzy. for me, that's what a brand does. That's what a brand is.
That's good. Well, it's 9:30, and usually at this point, we just go ahead and kind of like have open discussion about the world of graphics, and then at 10 o'clock, that's when the official broadcast stops, and you guys can talk about whatever, and somehow it always ends up talking about design. But for the next 30 minutes, we can have open discussion. We can continue the discussion, and keep it flowing. And at the same time, people can just have other questions about art, the world, or want to share, a pretty cool story about that time.
So.
Okay. Yeah, Bernard. My bad. Just real quick, Bernard. I know you said that you sketch. Like, I know for me, I'm a little bit different from everybody else when it comes to like logo design. Like, I can't draw a lick. I'm gonna be straight up and truthfully honest. I can't draw nothing. So, but I get all the pictures in my head. So I actually go straight from my head to Illustrator and do every single one that way.
Nice.
So yeah, that's me and Chris were actually discussing that earlier today. We had career day, so yeah, that's my little process right there.
Yeah.
I think that it's really interesting to see you all. Oh, hi everybody. I'm Jacinda.
Hey, Jacinda.
It's been so interesting kind of sitting in and watching everything. I just put a post out because I wanted to find out how many of you all are design educators and how many of you all have perhaps ever taught design and how far you've kind of gone in your experience, because I think a lot of the questions that you're asking are very, very valid. But I also think that we need to have maybe, I don't know, I mean, like I'm born and bred in education and training and all that kind of stuff. So I have tons of resources that I use with my students when they ask questions about what the lady was talking about. I'm not sure which person it is. I can't see the little, everyone's got a picture up, so I don't see all the names and stuff, so I apologize.
If you mouse over them, you can see their name.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I have tons of stuff, like this brand conversation that we're having. I understand what you're saying. I believe your name is Jason with the blue, or no, that's John. Okay, I'm learning how to use the mouse. Work with me. But what I'm saying is that the way about it isn't the way it's happening. And they're going off of materials from our quote-unquote national leaders. And I have a lot of those publications and things like that, and I don't know how to get them to you all. I don't know if you've been seeing me over here like pumping out links and things like that. But there's a wonderful brand experience poster that AIGA is using right now that is it's worthy. It is truly worthy. Sure. There's some great composition materials out. There's a huge book line out for identity, logos, grid, and there's tons of good stuff out there. I just don't know how to pass it to you all, or is that, so yeah. Thank you.
I guess if you have links to them, if you actually have,
they're PDFs, and like there are things that I've gotten from when I did hold a membership position in AIGA, and then something that I've gotten recently being on the diversity task force. So like I said, I'm happy to share what I have.
I think somebody has on DV. I think somebody started a Google Drive.
Or you can even Dropbox it.
I thought we had it in DVA. Like you could upload a document in DVH thing.
I think you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, under files.
Under files, yeah.
File. But that's taking me to Chrome stuff. Well, don't worry. I'm going to figure this out. And like I said, I teach design also, so I have a ridiculous amount of materials that I could share with you all to answer.
I want it all.
You said you want it all. Wow.
I want it all. Give it all.
I've been teaching design a long time. It's a lot to give now. It's a lot to give.
I got a couple free terabytes that I'm not using, so let's go.
Nice.
My thing is this. This is the main reason that I'm very interested. And for those of you all, I'm going to put it out here for you so that you can kind of see where I'm at. I know that as people of color, we always are like, who are you? What do you do? Are you good? Which, we got to always check each other, which I get it. It's sad, but I get it. And here's mine. You're welcome to check out my latest. This is kind of what I'm about right now. But I just think that. Did everybody get the link?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm in graduate school right now. I'm actually a second year. I'm holding down a 4.0, y'all. So pray for me, please. Just pray for me. And I'm actually studying the lack of diversity in design. I've been researching this for about 2 years now, and I'm going to be writing about this. And I've gotten a lot of nice play, a little bit of publicity behind it. But we just gotta we gotta do more. We gotta do stronger. We gotta do better. We gotta just do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so when Bernard told me about this chat, I really was trying to get involved. I have class, so I couldn't just cut class and hang out with y'all. Not that I didn't think about that, but I just. But the thing is that I saw this as an opportunity to connect with more people of color. I really hope I find one of these for my Latino brothers and sisters, because I know they out there scrambling and grambling too. But so what my project is like I said, I'm studying the lack of diversity in design, and I'm looking at different options for tools to engage and expose us to better design-related careers. But we can't do that if we don't share, you know what I'm saying? So I think these types of things are way critical. I just don't know how I can, without messing up my school Dropbox account, get all this stuff to you all, how we can do more of these, how we can do bigger of these, how we can connect better. So that link that I sent you is the beginning of my thesis research, and it's real serious out here, you all. I mean, I don't know how many of you all are in academia or ever been through it, but it's real serious out here, and it's a whole generation behind us that don't even have this much. Bernard was fortunate enough to speak at my last portfolio review, and we awarded a free 1-year subscription, to the Adobe Creative Cloud. Guess what happened? You'll love this. Guess what happened?
What?
Come on.
Nobody showed.
The young lady didn't have a computer.
Wow.
Yep.
Have a computer.
Wow.
She was good, you know. I mean, you know how a lot of times you meet people and you're like, oh, you all right, really? But you're really not? This young lady was working a Galaxy tablet, y'all. I was like.
Right. Yeah, she was. She was killing it, too. Like a Galaxy tablet, yes.
She was killing this tablet, y'all. I was like, I mean, we all stopped like, you did that on a Galaxy?
Wow.
And so I gave her the subscription, but guess what? She ain't got no computer at the house.
Man.
So,
I'll take it.
well, I do. You know,
I want everything free.
Y'all, I hit them up really bad. I hit them in the gut talking. I said the nasty words to them, and they got nervous, and they gave me stuff. I said race and diversity. They gave me 3 copies of it. They got scared.
Gotta do it.
They started dumping bags.
Oh, I got swag. I got plenty of Behance and Adobe swag here, y'all. I got plenty of stuff.
Oh, no, that's
And,
right.
That's what's up.
But the thing is that even though I was willing and I was able to give it to her, she could not receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So being in this chat with you all, I'm listening and I'm hearing the questions and I get the tutorial and I love the interview.
Yeah. That's why I still
So much to do. It's so much, you know what I'm saying, y'all? So much to do. And we just got to do better. So to the young lady, who was the one about the composition? I can't see Who was asking the question about composition? Or at least raise your hand.
That was
you.
me.
Okay. Okay, great. And what's your name? I don't even know your name.
DeConte, but you can call me D.
Excellent. It's good to meet you. I want to give you my email. Yeah, I want to give you my email address so that I can at least get you some of these materials so that you have a better grasp of it, because what you're trying to ask is really viable. It's a real question.
Yeah.
So
Yes, ma'am.
I want to.
So
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Jacinda, because this was something we kind of talked about, I think, the other day, is in talking about, whether it's, minorities get into design or in school for design. One of the things that we, as far as I've seen, is that those that go to school for design typically don't have that hands-on experience or that knowledge to design as well as somebody who, basically learned it from scratch and they just kind of did it, self-taught.
Yeah.
What, in your experience, what are you seeing as far as that goes?
That's a very great. I love it. I love the fact that a black person is asking me this, because I get white people asking me this, and I always got to fix the answer appropriately. So I'm not going to fix the answer for you. I'm going to tell you the truth. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing good, y'all, because we think that, hey, I can learn Photoshop through YouTube and I'm going to be fine.
Right.
But the problem is that when you try to advance, see, if you learn Photoshop on YouTube, I salute. Look, I'm going to give you my military daddy salute. Okay? That's the military salute, y'all. Any military baby? Look. Okay? I give you the military salute. The problem lies in the fact when we want to advance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with this thing called the design pipeline. That is what I would love to show every designer of color, the design pipeline. And I want you to chart where you are in it and how much power you want and how much you want to give back, because that's what's going to help us. So when you talk about what's going on with why aren't black people, quote unquote, as qualified as white people, because that's really what it sounds like you're asking.
No, it's not necessarily, for me, it's not even a black or white thing. It's just the fact that I found that, I'll just give you an example. I've got 18 years of design experience. I've never gone to college for design.
Okay.
But I believe I can run circles around these kids that are just fresh out of college.
Well, because you're clearly dedicated to lifelong learning.
Right, and that's my point. It's like, even with those that are in school, I don't feel like they're not getting. They'll learn color theory, they'll learn art history, they'll learn the basics of art and how to use a pen tool in Illustrator.
Okay, but see, you're talking about redefining learning, and see what you're saying as learning is not learning. It's just, hey, here's what it looks like, here's what it is. That doesn't mean that you can apply it. Learning denotes that you have absorbed, you have reflected, and you can recreate. That is learning.
Right.
So if you are dedicated to lifelong learning, you can do that. But the young kids now that are going to these curriculum programs, and don't get it twisted, I got as much issues with the schools as I got with the fruit that they are turning out.
Right.
And so to me, the schools, I have found that the schools are so consumed with getting bodies in the seats that they've kind of allowed the reins to be loosened, push us through.
Right.
But the problem is that we're not done yet, like cooking a cake. I mean, you can turn it up an extra 10 degrees, but it's not going to be as good as it is at 425 as it cooks at 325. It's a whole different kind of cake.
Right.
The thing is, I see a lot of schools. Y'all. I told you I've been putting this together for 2 years. I have seen some things that's so heartbreaking, just absolutely heartbreaking. And so the schools, they got some problems. You know, they are at fault for this problem. And then we don't come to the table with lifelong learning mentality.
Right.
You know, we got to come to the table with lifelong learning mentality, and that means buying a book. Like, I have a student who doesn't own a damn book in design. I'm like, how in the hell did you get out of college and not keep any of the damn books? Because I know the design books didn't sell back.
Right, exactly.
I know you didn't sell those books back, but how did you not? Like, he has no books.
Yeah.
So
I definitely agree. I think it's definitely a mindset of being. I mean, myself, I'm a lover of learning. I love to learn. So wherever I can get it, I'm getting it. Like tonight, I'm getting it. So I think that's part of it. I definitely think that, you know, there's no. I'll give you an example. I applied for a job with the hospital system as a graphic designer, and this was probably a couple of years ago. You know, 15, 16 years of experience, great portfolio, and I found that 10 years ago, most jobs would they'll either say you need a 4-year degree,
right,
or a 2-year degree, or in lieu of that, we need double the experience.
Double. And they want to be able to count it.
Exactly. But now, and so I could have a 4-year degree, or I could have 8 to 10 years of experience, and it has to be proven experience. Now I'm finding that they don't care about experience, and they want that paper.
Yes.
College, a year, don't even know anything about Photoshop or Illustrator. They know how to design a little bit here and there, but with what that company's needing, they have no experience. But they'll hire them in a minute.
Because
I had a hiring manager tell me that.
If I could add this in real quick, another thing that they're looking at, these companies, they're looking at long-term investment.
Yes.
And that's another key factor. When you have a 20-year-old compared to who is 37, and I'm applying for a job, I believe that to a certain degree, when it's time to sit down, you go through that interview process, they're thinking that. They're like, okay, well, how long is this guy going to be?
Right.
You know, are we going to invest another 15 years in this guy being here versus another 25, 30 years from this youngster who may not know that much, but trust me, he's going to be here long enough to where he's going to be worth something in the next 5 years.
Right.
Some of the words that I was going to say, John, I believe, yes?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm learning the faces with the names. Help me out, okay? But part of what you're describing is fit. It's a concept and a term that companies use to massage their corporate cultures. So what ends up happening is that they cannot possibly let someone in there who does not have the proper paper, because everybody else has the paper.
Right.
Okay. The paper is about qualifications. I like to tell my students that the paper isn't about the letters on it. The paper is about the sacrifice. It doesn't even matter how great you are at the end. It's about the sacrifice. And this is like misery. Misery loves company. You know, if I sucked it up for years of school, I'm going to work with other people who did that as well. And no, I don't want anyone in there who doesn't have it. Right. Then the other issue comes to the forefront that, you know, there's a mindset difference here. If I said, hey, I'm going to pause 4, 5, 6 years, and in my case, maybe 8, but if I'm going to pause that much of my life on education, that speaks to my mentality. I can't have someone who doesn't have that same mentality at the table. But what I would like to advise people to do, or to how to combat that, you know what I'm saying? Take courses. This is why I talk about lifelong learning. Take courses. You can take courses at Sail Academy. You can take courses online. You know, Adobe has free courses that they offer a lot of times.
Right.
You know, you got to be dedicated to lifelong learning. So when it all meets at the same place. I just think that what's happening in our industry right now is heartbreaking, because we got a lot of young people who want to do it, but they don't see us to ask the questions, and they're trying to do it on the way that they know, the best way that they know how, and all they know is about their cell phones.
Right.
They're trying to, they're just trying to do it that way, which isn't necessarily the right way, but it's just all they know.
True.
So it's hard. It's really, really hard. So when I meet other designers of color, I'm always like, you know, tell me about yourself. I want to talk with you. I want to know about you, you know, where you're at in your career. How's it going? Can we connect? You know, I love what the other young lady was talking about, relationship building. There's a whole series by this gentleman named George Fraser called Click. And that, you know, so what I'm saying is that there's lots to share, people. There's lots to share. We just got to do better.
Absolutely. When you know better, you do better.
You're supposed to. That's what white people do.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
You know. So I would love to be able to, you know, that's, I guess in DVA sometimes I don't post a lot. I mostly comment on business things or professional development, or, you know, because these are the pieces. Say that again.
Which is needed.
Thank you. I just think that that's a piece that we don't talk about. I feel like sometimes we're so busy getting the tech that we miss the technique.
Yeah.
So somehow or other, we gotta mix talent and technique to be terrific. You know, we gotta mix these things.
So good. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a business mentor and business instructor, and that's one of the things in every business, whether you're a designer or not. I tell them, I'm like, you can be the best at what you do. You can be the best hairdresser. You can be the best designer. You can be the best mechanic. That does not make you a good business owner just because you're good at doing it. And we're the worst, and I think especially in the black community, we're the best at what we do, but we're the worst at learning.
I don't think that we're the worst at learning. You know what it is? Because to learn, you ready for this? And this is gonna hurt. You ready? Hold your computers, y'all. To learn, you have to humble yourself and say you don't know. And Lord, we don't like. That's what we don't like.
True.
And this is not just us personally. This just goes throughout our culture.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't tell Master you didn't know how to do something. You better go in there and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's kind of what we're still doing. It's just that now we got cell phones and internet connections and you know, all this kind of stuff. I just
But we have to learn about. One of the conversations we had the other night was, I think what's his name? Was it Joseph that was on? I think the other night, and we were talking about, you know, planning. Like we'll design our butts off every day, all day, twice on Sunday.
Yep.
But then next year we're in the same position that we were this year because we didn't plan for next year. And it's like, okay, where do I want employees? Do I want to have, you know, do I want to be in a location? Do I want to move out of the house? You know, what goals do I have as far as how much money I want to make, that type of stuff, and we don't do that.
You know what I call that? When I used to teach the marketing class for the Small Business Development Center at the Urban Leagues, and I would call it the peak in the valley. See, what happens is when you're at the peak, that's the money's coming in, the fame is there, you know, clients is calling, you can't get no sleep because you're working, but then you know what? The peak is really small.
Right.
The peak is really small, and then next one day, 1 hour, bling, you find yourself rolling into this valley. So what I usually try to advise business owners to do is to design and to strategize in the valley.
Exactly.
dark in the valley. You're not doing
There's
anything.
There's a lot more valley.
There's a lot of valley. Why are you down there?
We used to call that the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
You only see the top of the ice. There's more under the water than there is above it.
Way more under the water than it is above it. And so I like to let people, or, when I was working with my entrepreneurs, I would tell them, it's great that you're getting paid. Get that money. Go ahead. All of it. There's plenty of money to be made. But the problem is that if you don't take the money that you're making and plan for tomorrow, it may not be a tomorrow.
Oh, exactly.
It may not be one. So planning in the valleys is real critical. I mean, you've been down, the valley is deep.
True that.
And as you were sliding off that peak, you should at the bump, start doing it there. I think that I agree with you totally that we don't plan. I don't think it's a learning thing for us. I really think it's a planning thing. It's a humbling thing. It's saying that I don't know. It's admitting that I might be wrong.
True.
And that I think that's kind of made what that may is what is impeding our progress as creatives.
I agree, 100%. So I know you have you're in education.
A lot of it.
How long have you been designing, and what type of designing do you do?
Are we doing the qualification things already? For real?
Already.
Are we here?
Already. Welcome to the family.
Well, this is cool. My Latino design brothers and sisters don't greet me like this. They're like, Jacinda! This is not, I only get greeted like this by my black brothers and sisters.
That's how we do. We got to know how you roll.
We got to know how I roll. Okay, well, I sent you my website.
Right.
So that my thesis research, I'm a huge proponent of education. So that means I got all the papers. I guess if there was a PhD design degree rolling around here, I probably would try to get that too. Nice. Taught design. I've been designing now for a little more than 20 years, but I don't like to say it because then you look old. I've been fortunate. I started as a graphic designer. I've been in education. I've worked in government. I was very fortunate in my career. I had what was called a good government job. Y'all remember your parents talk about them good government jobs?
Government job.
I had a flossy good government job, y'all. It was great. Parking underground, weekly paychecks. It was great. Benefits, glasses. I remember one time I paid like $20 for a pair of guest glasses on my benefits.
Nice.
It was great. It was great. And so I always like to preface everything by saying I've been very fortunate in my career. I honestly have, and I recognize it. I know it. It's wonderful. But at this point, I've been blessed to be able to do something big for somebody else. And so I've decided to kind of dedicate this next leg to education. And I'm going to dedicate this to coming up with some solutions for some of these problems that we've been talking about still. Nice. So I'm a graphic designer, University of Akron, from Cleveland. I'm in Columbus right now, OH. I'm working on a thesis. I'm trying to think what other good highlights. Worked in government, education. I used to do a lot of events. I love doing events. If I couldn't do design, I think I'd be an event planner.
Nice.
I used to co-host the Society of Urban Professionals, and I used to also do their marketing. So I was planning the events and designing for the events. I've done some work with OBD. I've done some work with AIGA. I'm in AIGA right now. I teach. I have about 20 mentees that I'm mentoring right now. There's tons of stuff. I've been fortunate. I really have, and I really want to make sure that I give it back.
That's what's up. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank Mr. Fields.
Oh, I thank you, Jason. For those who didn't know, she actually came down to Cincinnati here and hosted the Behance portfolio reviews, and it was quite the experience. Met some other great designers and exchanged information and talking and everything, and seeing the next generation coming up. It was very insightful. It was very hopeful.
And yeah, Jacinda, you the truth. You are the truth. Like this, she's not just talk. You know, be thinking like, you know, big talk, whatever, whoop whoop. Nah, she the truth. I sat down with her twice. I mean, like she's dedicated, you know. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
That brings us to really 10 o'clock here, and I'm going to stop the broadcast. So I thank you guys for leave. You can stick around, but I'm gonna stop the broadcast. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, I'll see you guys next week. We do this every Wednesday night from 8 o'clock all the way to 10, where we interview DBA members, and then we get tutorials. We have a topic of discussion, and then we have an extended discussion. It's like, hey, I want to be part of that. Try to find us on Facebook and ask to join, and I'm pretty sure, you know, you'll probably make it in if you're a decent enough designer. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't have to be all like, you know, top notch. No, we have people in here from all levels of design work, and it spans from photography to web design to print design, you name it. You can find those people in here. And so until next time, happy designing. All right, and